So hi guys, this is me Dennis, this is Avet,
Hi there.
and what are we doing? What are we trying to do right now?
Actually, let's get back for the point that you mentioned right now. Use something to synchronize the video and audio
No,
channels.
I mean in general. So what's this? We used to have before the pandemic started. We used to have this weekly meetup where like, people
yeah.
got together. We would have a presentation. Everything's recorded. So, but right now everyone is hiding in their homes. So we
Yeah.
decided to share our knowledge, our thoughts, because we kind of get together, we talk about it, and then we thought,
Why
like,
not?
why not? Like, this
Yeah.
is the good ideas, good information, and we're learning about it. So we wanna help out everyone else.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so it's the same thing, Bitcoin related and economics, security, cybersecurity. So mostly how to
Crypto.
deal.
With everything, yeah. Because I would say all those topics are connected. It would be not so smart to distinguish and say, hey, I'm talking about Bitcoin only, hence I'm not talking about economics. Really? Why? Or I'm talking about cryptocurrency from perspective of currency, and never touch technology. Again, how and why? So yes, I guess it's a perfect idea to get all those topics together and see where we can go with that. Meantime, talking about today, question to you. Do you like cryptography and security related altogether? Reason I ask, we all know so many coins, so many people's money get wasted just because the majority of people around us cannot get at the point of importance of security. Security from perspective of technological security. And I guess you have some brilliant insight about that.
Yeah, so it's not just like you don't get the importance of security, because the security is not a binary thing. It's a
True.
just like sliding scale.
True.
So yeah, you have a glass door, well, the entrance, and then you use the key. But like, what's the point of the lock if it's just a glass door? If someone wants, it just like breaks the glass, walks in, takes everything else. However, it prevents someone who just opened the door. If the door is open, so everyone can walk in, a random person. So grab, run away.
Let's have a hypocritical point there. If there is an honest mistake, you know how the people like to say, oh, there are some bad things happen, but it's not because it's an honest mistake. And as you mentioned, this glass door prevent this kind of honest mistake. Nobody gonna go inside.
You mean someone just confused the door and walked in, and
usually
yeah,
hypocrisy.
So
But
that's something that's like the random without the malice in their in their mind. Yeah, that prevents a lot. But if it's an attacker, so they target you, so you need something more than the glass door. So then this at this moment the security is not a destination; it's a process. And
yes,
and it's also like a constant battle. You try to protect yourself, hackers try to get better, and then it's going on and on and on. And it all depends on what you're trying to protect, like how valuable this thing is. So then you decide which kind of door you need. Is it glass door is enough? It's like, yeah, what you gonna take? Like, are you gonna steal my couch? And probably glass door is fine, but then if you have a ton of gold, and then
well, I guess ton of gold protect itself, because I can't see the human going to steal it. But again, as you mentioned before, it's a process. I guess one of the things that people got confused about is, hey, I implemented this, that, and even that. Hence, I'm protected. True, at that very moment. But then, something else you should do. You should at least do some maintenance against your own security. Otherwise, security get lost. In a digital world, it's probably easier to understand because everybody, time to time, got that security alerts on their Windows or Macs or whatever saying, hey, you need to update something because there is some security vulnerabilities that we, Microsoft, have found. Hence, we need to update this or that service, this or that application. Meantime, what it gives? It gives kind of peace of mind. Hey, Microsoft thought about everything. Well, that's not true. We ourselves has to do something. Something to prevent and keep our valuable, digital valuable stuff secure.
Well, I guess what you're talking about in general. So there are like digital in terms of like the computer and software security, and they might have flaws inside it. So like for example, if the code is not perfect, then the hacker can find a flaw inside and attack you. But also another part is a human part of the security, which even if you have all the perfect software, but then you just do something that's not you're not supposed to do, or like you cut the corners, or do something like you write your password, like you create a 30 character long password, you write it down and you stick it on the
monitor.
On your monitor, yeah.
And then
yeah, so that's the thing. And well, the problem with that is that if the security is too complex, then people try to cut corners, and then the entire thing is lost. Like when, for example, if you are forced to change your password every like a few months, every 6 months, for example, that's sometimes it's a feature. So what people tend to do, they tend to create shorter password and then just change 1 or 2 characters.
Yeah. Then you, as a owner of the security unit, try to make it harder, and down the road we can put money on that extremely complicated password that gets changed every like 2 weeks or something will end up as a sticker on a monitor for everybody to see. So I guess one of the conclusions that we can make it right now: security measures should be reasonable and justified. It cannot just go on the top of possible measure. It should anytime include the question of human psychology.
Yeah, but like I suggest, let's dive into the Bitcoin security and look at different ways. Like the most basic, the most common mistakes how people lose their coins. Because the security field is huge and ever evolving, and lots of different things can happen. However, just by the Pareto principle 2080, by just implementing 20% of
possibles.
Like by putting in 20% of your efforts, you can cover 80, maybe more percent of possible ways of losing your coins. So like, why are we even talking about Bitcoin? That's what I want to mention. So since it looks like it's a bull market, it's not really clear if it's because of the halving or because of the infinite quantitative easing. The central banks, they print money and they need to flow in somewhere. Maybe both. Maybe this is exactly why the Bitcoin was created, for this.
For that.
Like, I'm talking about the macroeconomic situation.
Yeah.
And we see that the price of Bitcoin went in March. It kind of dipped to like 5,000 or something like that, and then it was gradually coming up to 12,000 in August. However, right now it's corrected back to $10,000. So what I'm talking about, why it's important, because people are talking about about different ways of investing, We have pandemic, people staying at home, they read more, they talk more, they have nothing to do, they get the stimulus money from the government, the support money, and then a lot of people asking questions like, where is it coming from? Like, can they just print it out of nothing? And then they realize they can't. So people are looking into different ways of how to at least protect their wealth, purchasing power. That's one thing that's probably is gonna fuel the bull market, and another one, the companies. As we saw in August, the MicroStrategy company, it's a Nasdaq listed company. They converted half of their cash reserves that they had, which is 250 million, into Bitcoin. Then the next week, the week after that, we saw a restaurant chain from London, Ontario, converted their cash into Bitcoin, and a week later, an IT company from Ottawa did the same thing. So companies are just jumping on this bandwagon.
So we can say they can see the value of. The question comes, are they protected? Because just for our audience to give some numbers, in 2019 it was 1 billion and 1.7 billions of money, let's call it money, in this case it was USD, was lost because of fraud, because of anything related.
Are you talking about crypto or like?
Right now this number is about crypto at all. But meantime, Bitcoin is heavier than ever. So from that perspective, we can say yes. Again, we can use cryptocurrency word, or we can use Bitcoin. Again, we are talking about billions of dollars got lost. Why? Because in one hand, people are interested in the value of Bitcoin, and on the other hand, they just have no idea how to protect themselves against fraud or some misuse of it. And
so it's 4.4 billion in the first 9 months of 2019. So it's
even
basically
more.
even more than that.
Yeah.
And 1.7 billion in 2018.
See, so it's increasing. So
So first of all, the price of Bitcoin is going up. So whatever is stolen, it's going to be more expensive. And second, as we see, because of the pandemic, people stay at home, and we see what is this, like 300-400% increase in cyber attacks.
Oh yeah.
Because people from the corporate secure networks, they move home and they use their unsecure home networks to connect to the sensitive corporate data. But we're not going to cover that. Let's just cover a few things where people can lose their Bitcoins. And the first is the exchanges.
Crypto exchanges, yes. And how the people lost it? Because exchange suddenly goes off.
Well, actually, the dilemma here is this. So, in order for you to control your coins, you need to control your private key, which is a long password. If you lose it, you lose your coins. If someone else sees your private key, they can steal your coins. So well, and this is a very difficult task, kind of, if you're not technical, or even if you're technical, it's just a human, you can forget, because you might need this private key like 5 years down the road, and you need to know where it is, and then also you need to remember how to use it, how to recover, what wallet you use, what the derivation path, and all this other technical stuff. So it's doable. It requires I would say a lot of education and a lot of effort and a lot of understanding why it's important.
Let's name a couple of them. Private key is not something that human can remember. It's digits, it's a string which technically no human can keep in mind. Hence, it has to be kept in a certain way. It has to be kept on a secure device, or some brilliant mind keep them in a text document on a
I think it's like
laptop.
256 bit long, so
Yes, so it's
256 characters in binary.
in binary.
Probably
Yeah.
much shorter than 32 or something.
Far from
But I
anything
mean,
can recall.
it's not readable at all. So
Yeah.
it's just a random string of characters. However, Bitcoiners, developers, they came up with this like
Solutions.
beautiful solution where they convert this string of characters into
They use
12
a seed.
12 words, 12 English words. That so from that 12 English words, through like some hash functions, you derive to your private key.
Mhm.
And it's humanly possible to remember those 12 words. It's not recommended to keep it in your head because we
That's
forget
doable.
everything.
That's doable. How many people can recall any song word by word? Then they think every day. Like not so
Many.
many.
Oh, the song?
Yeah, absolutely.
word?
They will misuse the word. They can replace
yeah,
the word
that's-
with
yeah.
synonym
Yeah.
because we are human. For us, it's the same song. 100%. Words are different.
Actually, why do we even remember anything? It's only if it helps us to survive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, like 4 billion years of evolution, I don't think it's aware that the 12 words will
Come in.
help you to
Yeah.
protect your Bitcoin, which is also an abstraction, just an abstraction. So, this is not something we're designed to
Recall, remember.
Yeah, and even if you try and if you try to write it down for a year, there's no guarantee that
There's no guarantee.
you're not gonna forget something.
Let's face reality.
Plus accidents, you can hit
Accidents
your
or
head.
Alzheimer.
Just-
People get older. People forgot. Unfortunate, but it's true. For their names, their relatives. So something that person keep in mind will disappear due to biological factors.
So
Not the way
here's
around.
an interesting story about this. I was learning about the wallets, and basically when you set up a wallet, you get this, which is called the seed phrase, of
Yeah.
12 words, and after that you have like the standard mathematical process of converting this 12 words into private key, master private key, then private key and public key and Bitcoin address, and the wallet does it for you. And yeah, and then I learned like you need this seed. It's 12 or 24 words, and if you have the seed, you can recover your
Everything.
wallet or access to your Bitcoin through any wallet.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the same wallet as you use. And I learned this. I knew this, the importance of these 12 words. But then I was setting up. I think it was a samurai wallet, and yeah, I got the seed. I wrote it down, and then the next step was it was asking for some extra passphrase. And I typed it in, but for me it was like I only need the seeds to recover Bitcoin. That's the
Absolutely.
rules. And,
General rules.
And I didn't write it down. However, it turns out that this passphrase is actually
Then
is combined together with the seed, and without the passphrase you get completely different
Different one.
private key.
because it was exactly that application. In another application, maybe something different. But even
No,
if you knew about that,
actually,
it's
it's a standard process. Actually, they have like it's called the BIP 39 or something like that. So it's actually standard. However, you just need to know that not only 12 words, but actually something extra that you combine, and it generates the private key out of it. Yeah, so that's it's kind of sad experience. Like I mean, sometimes it's so difficult. Like you need to know about like lots of stuff.
people will tell you, hey, hence you need to log each step that you do. Okay, guys.
Wait, let me check if
Yeah.
it's recording. Yeah, looks like we're good. Yeah. Yeah, let's continue.
Yeah, like people will tell, hey, dude, you need to log each step that you have done. Well, the answer is obvious. We are humans, and it is impossible. We can be in rush. We can be. It's possible we are tired. We just at that moment there's a important call that happened, and you forgot to do it. There's so many exactly human things that might interfere with that.
Here's an example. So you set up a wallet, and you also know that you shouldn't keep your seed phrase digitally, because if it's digital, it's possible to steal it from you remotely. Anyone from the basement, from I don't know, from some Eastern European country can steal it from you. So what you do? You see it, you write it down. It's like, I'm doing good. It's written down. Then you get your Bitcoin. Well, because this is why you're setting up a wallet, because someone wants to send you Bitcoin. So you get it there. You're happy, and then this piece of paper where you wrote it down, you look at it and it's like, where should I keep it? Yeah, I'll keep it in a drawer somewhere. Pretty safe. What happens with this piece of paper 6 months later?
It's gone. Everybody knew it became yellow, fragile. They cannot read it.
Well, maybe a couple months later you see it's already getting yellow, so you fall. It's like, yeah, I should put it somewhere else in a more safe location. You put it in your pocket somewhere in your suit.
You get wet under heavy rain, your money gone. That's so easy.
Yeah, so this, and but meanwhile your wallet is still working, it's still operational. You might like getting paid, you send transactions, it's kind of good. It's only a couple of years later when your phone dies and you need to recover it. Then you're looking for those words and you can find them.
So yeah, we mentioned the reason why people will not trust themselves.
Yeah, so so basically this is what we're trying to explain. So you have two options. First, you try to control your coins, your private keys, and then if you do this, you're fully in control of your Bitcoin. Where you send it, no one can stop it.
Yeah.
However, yeah, there are lots of possibilities how you can lose your private key.
It's easy and it's a lot.
The interesting part, like people talk about losing and stealing, like your private key can be stolen, and actually people are more concerned that it can be stolen. However, at this moment, I don't think it's a high risk scenario, because first of all, Bitcoin is not as popular, so not as many people know what it is, that they don't know how it works, and then you actually need to be a known target. So
if you are just dude from somewhere that just, nobody will even know about, if so you are not pronouncing that.
Yeah, mostly people just lose their private keys and they're not stolen. So, however, psychologically, people
afraid of stealing.
Attach more weight to stealing, not losing. Yeah, so now you have this problem. Like on one hand, it's very difficult to control your private key, and now there's a custodian, someone else who can do it for you, and you just need to identify yourself through like
KYC.
Yeah, and then it's just like an email. You have login and your password. If you
lose it,
if you forget your password, you just click the button recover, and then you go through the process of like the standard thing.
Sounds like a magic.
Or maybe you just go to the bank, you show your face, you show your ID, and they give you a new password, and you continue online banking.
Whereas reality comes with that magic. The reality comes, it's not one time in this short history when exchanges got lost. There was an exchange working perfectly, and the next day suddenly boom, nobody can log in, money is gone.
Why it happens? Because the crypto is a new industry.
Yeah.
It's like it's 10, 11 years old, and for the first 5 years no one really cared about it, or maybe 4. So there's no regulation. Right now it's picking up though. It's getting better. Before that, There was no regulation.
Absolutely, yeah.
And with crypto, actually, the exchange is a custodian, so normally it doesn't happen. So the custodians don't do the trade, so it's something separate. But with crypto, exchange is a custodian, and they are a honeypot for hackers, for attackers. Which is good on one hand because they have the security teams and they're constantly working on improving their security. So the best security in cyberspace, I assume, it's like crypto exchanges.
A team of professionals work on a task that in a full day, that's their main job, versus the private person that can afford, in the best case, hour and two to work on the same. Seems unequal position. However, so many people lost their money in exchanges.
Yeah, so they have a dedicated security team. However, they're also the honeypot. So all the hackers, they're trying to hack one account, which is the exchange.
It's known, but it's visible.
And as I mentioned, like, at the moment, no one's gonna be targeting you unless they know you have a significant amount of Bitcoin or whatever other cryptocurrencies, and then you become a target, and they may try to, but exchange isn't obvious target.
Obvious, yeah.
And they've been attacked so many times in the past. Some of them successful, some unsuccessful. The one that comes to mind, it was about a year and a half ago, that Binance was attacked.
Yeah.
And Binance, I believe, or I feel so, it's like one of the
most trustful sources.
Trusted and they're open, so CZ, after the attack, like, he went straight away on the streaming, like Periscope or Twitter or whatever was there, and
they were transparent.
It's like they were really transparent. They were doing all they can, and they covered all the losses from their fund, which is huge respect for them. So, so depending on your risk profile, so sometimes maybe it's better for you to keep coins on an exchange, depending on your knowledge and on personal situation. Yeah.
So here's the paradox. Exchange is definitely higher security than any private person can do. Meantime, it's also higher target that any private person can be.
Yes, it is high security, higher target. It's unregulated. But the regulation is just speaking up, and it's because internet and cryptocurrency it's worldwide. It's not fiat that's bound by the national banking system, so it's everywhere. So it also depends on the regulation, and like if Binance is in Malta, good luck trying to enforce something in Malta. So the regulation, what it means, that they might decide that they're not liable. However, Binance is trustworthy because up until this moment they are kind of protecting their reputation.
Yes.
And so far it's been 3 years after their launch, and they have like one of the best reputations in the crypto exchange industry, I would say. However, like it's necessary to remember that things happen. So, one of the local Canadian exchanges, Quadriga, yeah, they did exactly that. So they were insolvent for a year, maybe 2. So the guy was just moving out the money, trading somewhere else, losing the money, and no one could verify because it's a closed book, and there's no regulation.
And there is no regulation at all.
There was, like, now it's getting better, but still a long way to go because regulators don't really understand Bitcoin and like what you can do. The first one was Mt. Gox.
Yeah, that was another brilliant example.
Well, first of all, that was the first, I mean, the big exchange, first exchange for Bitcoin. One at that moment, I don't know, they started 2010, 2011, not sure. Yeah. And they had like a few hacks, so I might be wrong with data, but I actually did the video on this too. So in 2010, maybe 11, a couple of hacks, so somehow they covered their losses. But then in 2013, I think that it was a long-lasting hack, so that
Try them out.
guys were using the vulnerabilities and pulling Bitcoin out of the exchange. And do you remember how much they lost? 800,000. Yes,
of
yeah,
Bitcoin.
yeah. So at that time, like that was crazy.
For the people, like, I would say from certain point, let's mention as measurable Bitcoin itself, because 800,000 Bitcoin at that time and today, it's a different USD amount, but it's huge. It's huge, whatever you think.
800,000 is probably more than 10%. No, it's 13.
At that time, it was about.
It's less than 10. So like the first 4 years, half of all bitcoins were mined.
Yeah.
So it's like 11 million. So, but close to 10%.
So huge. It's a huge number.
Of that supply at that moment.
And I mean, from that supply, there were some lost.
Plus the Satoshi 1 million bitcoins.
Yeah, so it's a huge number, and boom, it's gone. It's gone from the pockets of that people who trust their money to exchange.
So exchanges, you have to trust the exchange, and you trust someone else, the third party, another person, and the entire philosophy of Bitcoin is that you don't have to trust. So it's trustless. You don't need to trust anyone. Is it good or bad? Should everyone go the trustless route? Maybe not, because the trustless route requires a lot of knowledge and a lot of effort, and you need to maintain your training, like you train yourself, because first of all you can forget what you've learned, and second the attackers, they invent new things to attack you. And well, basically at that moment you just need to balance, like what you're gonna do. Like, you trust yourself, you're gonna be improving your security, or you just trust a third party. Up until maybe a year or two ago, only exchanges could keep, like they were custodians. But now we see, in the last couple of years, we see like dedicated custodians like Gemini, Coinbase, Custody. They have a separate solution. Even Fidelity created the custody for institutional investors. So yeah, there are like dedicated companies that keep coins for you.
You mentioned companies with a name, like the same Fidelity. They have already built a reputation. Meantime, they have a reputation in general. Doesn't mean they are 100% shield against crypto attackers. Just because we are in the process of developing all the time yet.
Yeah, that's true. Like it's a completely different paradigm. It's not banking transactions where you can reverse transactions. So it's completely different. You do it once, that's all. Nothing can be done. You can't reverse. You can destroy transactions. You can print new coins. It's a completely different way of thinking.
It's not bad. It's a feature. It's actually why we like it, kind of.
Yeah.
So probably as a conclusion, we should say, if you want to keep your money, first decide who you trust more, yourself or exchange.
And I think it's a very difficult question.
It's difficult
to answer.
It is difficult, yeah.
Like it's so many variables that you need to assess. Some of them you don't even know. So with I think the major risk if you hold it yourself is that you may just miss something, or like something technical. So you may lose your private key. It maybe your backup got burned or something like that.
Yeah, it's so many.
Plus, also you need to remember how you plan your inheritance. Like if you die, like how do you pass your private keys to your heirs? So that's the technical part. However, if you keep it with a third party like a custodian, I think the biggest risk is what you call it? Well,
Can they indeed be
this
trustful?
people, yeah, like the risks kind of connected to people. First of all, regulations, the government may decide like, okay,
We seize it.
yeah, we'll ban Bitcoin, and we see that happened with gold in 1933. So they banned
It's not
people
hypothesis.
from possessing
Possible.
gold. So this might happen to Bitcoin, and if someone else controls it, they just keep
It's
it.
someone else who control it.
Yeah, if you control your keys, nothing can be done. No one even knows it's yours. So this one, also within the company, people may just steal it. Like maybe there is some malicious worker. Though if the system is set up in the right way, it can be prevented. However, as we saw, like it was a month ago, the Twitter hack,
Yeah.
that it was done by just manipulating the people who work
Yep.
in the company.
It wasn't technical hack. It was
Yeah.
social hack.
Yeah, and the accounts of like the high-profile people
Gone. Not gone, but suddenly.
were hacked, basically.
Yeah.
They got access to it. So that also something that may happen.
Yeah. Again, it's
Also, that the company can go insolvent. They can they can do the fractional reserve banking. You can't really verify if they hack your Bitcoin or not. You need to trust them and
we can
trust their
say
promises.
if the company is good, reputation, technological side, everything and everything. How many companies can you mention that has a history of 200 years? Not so many.
I don't know. I don't even know if I can mention one. Coca-Cola, maybe. I don't even know.
Yeah, like even right now I can't recall. What about RBC or CIBC? Well, probably they. And again, like 5, 10, nothing that you can easily say, hey, here's the list of hundreds of hundreds. What I'm trying to say, perfect company with a strong reputation, noble, can suddenly go bankrupt, and what's gonna happen with your assets then? It's a question. It's not like, hey, if they go bankrupt, they definitely think how to transfer their liabilities for somebody else or trying to compensate whatever loss person might have. The company goes bankrupt. What you can do? Nothing. It's not in the control of the people.
There's a legal process. You can go. You stand in line, and if you're lucky, you might get something. But
Yeah,
if you're
if
not
you're
lucky,
lucky.
then you don't.
That's it.
So yeah, so that's the thing. And with the third party custodians, I think the highest risks is the government attacks if the regulation is changing. So it doesn't have to be confiscation. Like that's the extreme case, but also they might want something like capital control. You can't withdraw more than $1,000 worth of Bitcoin for whatever. Like right now, like $10,000, and you have to report everything: where it's coming from, where is it going, what's the idea. So you can't just take it and move to a different country.
Absolutely.
Maybe
It's not something that we are just making up right now, because everybody can check how that works in any ATM machine. Go there, try to withdraw some whatever amount is. Cannot. Because there is a regulation that withdraw from ATM cannot be over than certain limit. Simple like that. SAFE can go against the Bitcoin, it can be higher or less, but government has a control on it. If it's a third party.
Yeah, if it's a custodian. So wait a second, I'm just gonna check if we're still good. Yeah, looks like it's right. Sure.
I guess there are a couple of ideas that we can use for future talks, right? technological point of view, how to keep Bitcoin in a machine, like private key or wallets, or how that works in general. We might talk about exchanges itself, good, bad,
yeah.
etc.
So the first question you decide, you keep your Bitcoin or a third party. Like, who do you trust more?
Yeah.
And the question may be different for different people. So ideally, the ethos of Bitcoin is you do everything yourself. You don't trust anyone. You decide what you want to do. However, might not be the best answer for all the people.
Yeah.
So if you decide that someone else has to keep it for you, then you need to do your own homework. You need to go through legislation. You need to look at the team. You need to see what's the company. In the US, for example, about a month ago, they allowed banks to custody crypto for everyone. So banks seem to be like reliable third parties. However,
Let me
they
call
never.
the name Bank of America.
Uh,
With all the things that happen with that reputation.
However, crypto is a different. It's not fiat. So like with fiat, they can call Federal Reserve and get bailed out, but Federal Reserve cannot print more bitcoins.
Yeah, it's technologically impossible.
So it's a completely different game. However, they are the most regulated entities probably
in the world. Yeah.
In the world, and they have lots of resources. I mean, they are definitely better than crypto exchanges from the regulatory point of view. So they have their founders are known, their locations are known. However, exchanges might have an advantage, technological advantage, because they've been dealing with this crypto thing for a long time. But I don't think we can cover where you can keep your coins and third parties. I'm not an expert in that. However, we can try to proceed, like what you do if, or like where you need to pay attention, what you need to pay attention to if you decide to do it on your own. So basically you need a wallet for that.
Yeah.
And there are 3 types of wallet, mostly. Like if you think it's there are hot wallets where your private key is inside of the operational system.
Let's just mention what we are saying by wallet, right? Because people might think it's something made from leather in your pocket, which is not like that.
Yeah. So like maybe the basic thing about what is actually Bitcoin? There are no coins. Like Bitcoin you can imagine is like an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
This is just like this simple table which says, okay, this is some random account.
To transfer money to.
And then it has some amount of Bitcoin. And this is basically it. Like there's some more information that's not relevant, but this is also like this account has this amount of Bitcoin, this account has this amount of Bitcoin, and that's all. And if you want to transfer from this account to anywhere else, you need the private key that would match this account, and this is the only thing that's even possible. Yeah, so it's very simple. And your wallet actually, what it does is it's a piece of software that doesn't show you all the list, the huge Excel spreadsheet, and doesn't show you like 100 different private keys that you have. The wallet manages it for you. It makes it like user friendly. So the wallet is a piece of software that takes your private key, does all the manipulation, construct a transaction, and broadcast it to the network. Yeah, that's the core. This is what the wallet is. So and when I mentioned the hot wallet and cold wallet, the hot wallet keeps the private key inside of the working memory of the operation system of your smartphone or computer. Why it's bad? Because if it's compromised, So the malware can access different parts of the
Memory
operation
itself.
system, including sometimes this part that contains the private key.
It can get stolen.
It can get stolen, and anyone who has the private key will steal all of your bitcoins.
Yeah.
And it's irreversible. That's bad. So the second,
The cold vault.
yeah, the second versions of all the wallets are the cold wallets. They don't keep the private key inside the operation system, so it's something like a separate device. You can say it's a air-gapped computer. So it has its processor, it has its memory, it has its tiny screen. So it's just the computer that is not connected to any radios, any Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or anything, and it has a secure, hardware secure module inside that even if someone gets in, they can't extract information like private key from that module. So this is much more secure because your private key is separate from your computer. Your computer can be compromised with lots of malware, but this malware cannot extract the private key. So what it does to you construct a transaction on your computer, it sends the transaction to your wallet, the wallet does the manipulation, hardware wallet, signs it, and
Post it back.
send it back. But signed transactions, nothing can be done. Like you can publish it anywhere. The only thing that can happen, it will just propagate faster. So the hackers cannot do anything with the signed transaction. All they need to do, all they need to do to steal your Bitcoin is get your private key, which is in this case is hidden inside the
device.
Inside the device, yeah. So the paper wallets are kind of like this. We can consider them kind of hardware wallet probably because the private key is outside. It's not recommended. It's too difficult. No one uses the.
Yeah, it's simply difficult to do.
Because if you spend it, then the change goes somewhere else to a different address for which you don't have the private key, and happened many times before. Yeah, well, sometimes you need to use the software wallet on your phone, for example. So it's not convenient to carry around an extra device.
Laptop, another device. Yeah, it's simple. Again, we are humans. It's impossible.
But these are not all the problems. Actually, it's just the beginning. So how people get hacked. So even if you use the hardware wallet, I read about this hack maybe a couple of weeks ago. So the guy has his Bitcoin. He knew about all the security. He knew the hardware wallet was something that's yeah, it's the best practice. So he plugged it in, and the wallet says, "Oh, you need to update. There's a new version. Yeah, the updated firmware." So he downloaded it, and then he got this message like, "Oh, because you don't updated the software, you need to type in your seed," which we talked is your private key decoded for human consumption.
So far, seems everything legit, right? Your application, which you trust, pop up the reasonable message.
And
update.
You think it's the most secure thing because it's a hardware wallet.
Yeah.
Nothing can happen, and yeah, but he typed it in. So, but this was malware. So it's his seed went to someone else, and the attackers just like.
In the future, we might want to touch how exactly that happened in technical steps. Today, probably we have to.
Actually, there were two cases I remember. One was with, I think it's Keep Key. It's not a very common hardware wallet. So the guy got exactly this what I've described, and then another guy was using Electrum. That was
actually the case.
A week ago, and they stole 1,700 bitcoins. That was the same. So yeah, so he was using the outdated version of Electrum wallet. This is just a very popular software wallet. You can use hardware wallet together with Electrum interface, which is actually recommended. And yeah, the same thing happened with him. So because it was outdated, he connected to a malicious server, and the server told him like, we can't process your transaction. You need an update, and
another application, etc., etc., etc.
I don't think they were asking for his seed though.
Yeah.
I guess they kind of created the transactions and then asked the hardware. But I don't think he even had the hardware wallet, so it was.
Yeah, they give him malicious application which just had nothing to do, only change the destination.
Yeah, this is what.
Yeah, and that happened not to one person. It happened for so many people, but because they lost very.
Yeah, I actually checked the address when he posted. So for a year they were collecting like tiny amounts of Bitcoin, and they were not moving anything.
Yeah.
But after like 1700, the next
big
minute
fish.
you see, that's they moved it somewhere and they started mixing. So this adds to the difficulty of understanding what can happen. So sometimes you don't even think about this.
Looks the person done the best practice.
You have a hardware wallet which is the best practice, and then you update your software which is also the best practice. You don't want to have your software unpatched. However, well, how do you know whatever you're downloading is the authentic software?
A long story. Again, companies with established name sign whatever they publish in general. But what about open source? So many open source companies, not companies even, open source project themselves, that by their own open source logic do not sign anything.
Oh well, actually they do. Actually, the Bitcoin is an open source thing, and all the changes in the software are signed by some people, dedicated people, and I'm not sure about how all the open source projects, but you can find the signature. So you go on the GitHub or whatever repository is there, and then you're looking for signatures. Even if you understand what it is, even like because it's not straightforward, it's not easy. Windows does it for you if you go like Windows kind of checks it, but not for the open source.
Yeah.
Not always.
Not always.
So if you know what you're looking for some public key of the developer, then you might find it, but then how do you know this is the public key of the developer but not of the attacker pretending to be a developer?
Because now you have another point of failure, another person that probably got hacked and by used trustful at that moment key was signed the wrong application.
So yeah, like
Possible.
if the developer's website got compromised, they might change the public key there, and then you verify, and then everything's good until that moment, until your Bitcoin is gone, and we probably can go further and further and further all this.
I guess one of our talks probably should be dedicated on that.
You know what's the interesting thing? I was kind of looking at how to solve this problem. And they call it the web of trust. And essentially it goes to this, like, if you know the developer personally, you check his public key, you kind of write it down, you verify it, and then I see you and you say like, yeah, this is exactly the public key from that developer, and maybe I can share it with someone else. So this is the web of trust. But I mean, we need to trust everyone, because if you're an attacker in the middle, so you can swap it, and it can be a problem. And you know, like looking at the incentives right now, because Bitcoin is money. So before that, like, what can you steal? Yeah. Even if you steal a credit card, it's still reversible. It's still not a big problem. This is a reversible it's an asset that goes up in price and probably will go up for
Yeah,
a few years in the future. So it's the incentives are high.
as you mentioned, this is the commodity, let's call it, that's gonna rise in the price. Hence, probably it's not like they stole it and right now they try to somehow buy something and show them. It's probably gonna be years until this particular person who stole the money will try to use it for something. So, yeah. So, again, on top of that, even if the thief or police or somebody else find the person who stole the money, then what? That person might already spend them. Done.
Even if they don't, like, you need to get the private key out of them. What you gonna do?
Yeah, like we are not
Like,
asking
if
about
you- if you-
certain level of.
Yeah, if you're in a Western world, like, the torture is not applicable. And
Yeah, so we are laughing, we are kind of kidding about that, but whoever lost their money, they are not so good at laugh for these kind of jokes. They might get pretty upset. So yeah,
so, a couple of other things to think about. So yeah, you need to decide first custodian. You
Or
pick it
yourself.
yourself, then you decide
which way you do?
like what wallet, and you make sure that this is an authentic wallet, the software that you download. But also another thing that I came across like a week ago. So someone was trying to analyze how open the open source software, and if you can build the software. So yeah, like you take the repository and then you build it the way you want, if it's possible. So this is basically what they all say. So like our open source, build
It's
yourself.
open source.
But it looks like no one's verifying. Like people just read. Oh, someone else probably verified the code and analyzed, and everything's bulletproof. But actually no. And then on that website, the guy came up with a lot of conclusion that many wallets that say they're open source, it's impossible to compile on your own and come up with the same results as they promise.
Yes.
So what does it mean for us? It means that you don't really know what's inside, what kind of code inside the software that you're using.
Yeah.
Like if it's the same as on GitHub, even if you understand what the code is, or let's assume you do, you don't really know what's inside of your wallet. And maybe those guys, they just pretend to be nice, and they will be collecting all this information, all these private keys or public keys or whatever needs to be collected for a few years, and then they shut down and disappear in one moment. Especially in the Bitcoin space, people like to be anonymous.
Which is reasonable.
Somehow
That's how it's created.
It's how it's created, and then somehow it's actually super good, super nice. Like you are respected if you are anonymous. No one knows who you are. And we have like several projects like that, so no one knows who the founder is. Maybe people know some developers who are also use the pseudonyms and stuff like that.
Even if we know the person, that the person is completely trustful, even if the person was pretty cool in GitHub code and provide exact steps how to compile it, question comes, that person is a human being, which is possible of mistake.
Yeah, a mistake or corruption, so we don't really know. Maybe he got blackmailed. So.
Yeah, and then what? And then another person download that code. How many strings of code the average developer can read? 1,000, 2,000? Down the road, that person try to do some manipulation with the code, right? Not just check it out. So, okay, look through, nothing obvious. There is no like another key that obviously shows send to function to that code. Nothing like that. And so, okay, let me get it, let me compile it. perfect, everything's fine at that moment, and as you mentioned, in a couple of years, they just collect this or that information in a certain amount of time, boom, another hack.
Yeah, so these are some problems that you might want to keep in mind. Also, just want to touch another part of it's privacy.
Privacy.
So, first of all, the best way to avoid the attack is just not to become a target. So
Yeah.
if people don't know that you have Bitcoin, they're not just gonna try to hack you.
They won't hack you, but the example that you mentioned with that Electron wallet, they were just trying to get everything from everywhere, and as soon as the fish was big enough, don't let that person, they disappear.
Yeah, but like people who use Electrum, assumingly they have Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But I mean, if someone knows that you have
Exactly.
1,700 of Bitcoins,
Well,
they might
won't.
try to use different ways of hacking you, including the physical attacks.
Yeah.
So if you maintain your privacy, that's the number one rule. So if people don't know you have Bitcoin, so you can't be
You are
targeted.
not target.
Yeah, or at least you have the plausible deniability. So yeah, so that's and maintaining privacy is also a difficult task because you're tracked by everything, IP addresses, smartphones like location, microphones. If you have all the smart speakers that Alexa or Google,
Yeah. Exposure is there.
So everything is recorded. You have cameras, which I don't know if they use sometimes or not. But even if it's too much, but every time you use internet, all your search queries, social media,
yeah.
all these cookies, they stay there. They collect a lot of information about you.
Yeah.
And Facebook knows if you go and you read about Bitcoin, if you check coin market cap every 5 minutes. And then maybe Facebook doesn't care too much about your Bitcoins. However, they get hacked
once in a while.
Every day almost. Well, we don't know. Like they might
I
be
don't know
hacked.
because nothing bad happened after that hack. But again, they have a Facebook collected information. Somebody got access to that information. Can that somebody use the information?
Usually we only know like if your credit card information got leaked, and that's a big scandal. However, like if your browsing history gets leaked, like who's gonna be talking about this? Like, it's not.
It's not something people would understand in a.
So maybe it might get leaked. Maybe they just share it with advertisers or who.
Why maybe they are sure they honestly even said that like, hey, those are the third parties that we Facebook share your information with. Are you agreed with that or not? you can turn that off. Not for by the way any third party. There are some third parties that you cannot even turn. Hence, your information from Facebook goes somewhere else, and now what about that somewhere else? Probably they got hacked.
And if you think
long story.
If you think about it, like what's the easy way to attack someone who is a target, who is known? So like Facebook collected information about you that you were searching about Bitcoin. You went to like a Binance website. You check coin market cap every 5 minutes. Facebook knows about you. Someone steals this information or buys this information. Now they know who you are. Now that you're interested in Bitcoin, now they just need to infect or compromise your notebook or smartphone, and the easiest way is just to try to access your when you copy and paste
the buffer?
clipboard, the buffer.
Yeah.
So and when you install different apps on your phone, you just press allow, and we don't really know what they're doing there. And the buffer is something that a lot of apps can access.
Well, they share a buffer because it's a buffer. That's why you share them, right? So yeah, that's
So and then when you copy a Bitcoin address, which go through the buffer, so normally you wouldn't copy your private key. Normally, however, when you let's say you want to type in the seed mnemonic, like the recovery seed
Definitely.
word, it might go into the buffer.
What
The
about
keyboard might read what you're typing,
Yeah.
try to verify it with their own server.
Absolutely. It might switch the destination address, not anytime, once in a while, from
Yeah, this is a known attack when you want to send your Bitcoin and the attacker just
replace it.
replace it from the clipboard with their own address
And again, psychologically, hey, it seems this goes to the wrong address. What the hell? Let me try again. Oh no, address is correct. Yeah, probably I forgot something. You know, it's not like, again, it's obvious. Not anytime they're gonna steal your money. Come on. They might steal your money once in a while. You won't even notice. So many things.
But
so many things.
even if you check the address that you're sending
Visibly.
the coins to,
You don't know what exactly goes on a wire.
my point is, like, you check every letter and number in the Bitcoin destination address, but you have change,
Yeah.
and does it go to an address that you control?
Nope.
No,
Not necessary. Not
that
necessary.
should go, but it's also one of the attacks, and actually you can't verify the change address because you
Unless you have
there's
orthographic
nowhere you can-
information.
So yeah, like, it's possible. So you need to create your addresses and see if your private key controls this particular address.
How do you believe
This
that?
is one of the attack vectors. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's actually possible unless you just work there and research the crypto.
Unless it's your job.
Field to understand all of the attacks.
Yeah.
And
And I can tell, hey, like when I was monitoring the network itself, and I need just to sniff each message that happened in my network, I need to spend lots of time and attention to indeed be able to find what I really want. Yes, I was using queries to narrow down, but again, if I want to see what exactly happened in my network, which I know, and I know the exact issue that I'm looking for, again, it's not easy. It time, it effort, it's certain level of yes, that's why not everybody can do it, right? It's simple. Knowledge, experience, understanding, so many things all together for just random person that just want to have a Bitcoin on private control. Too much.
yeah, so to my understanding of how I feel it, you have to control it yourself. Like, it's true for most people, because there are too many risks with the government, especially given what's happening current situation, that they print money like non-stop, and that's the only way to get out. And Bitcoin is a hard asset that might protect your wealth. So you have to keep it on your own, and then you have to go with the best practices. However, do not try to modify them.
Yeah.
There are best practices that you can look at them and recover your Bitcoins like 5 years down the road, because you're gonna forget everything. But if you try to modify your best practices, you introduce some simple cipher, like change, or like you put it somewhere, you add some extra words, you might just
That's
lose
something
everything.
that's gonna be forgotten.
So you go with the best practices. You have the hardware wallet. You save your seed as recommended in the best practices on a piece of paper, maybe separate from your passphrase, and you have to remember that you have a passphrase, and you do as few transactions with Bitcoin as possible. First of all, it's good for privacy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't expose yourself. Second, every time you expose your private key, there is a chance it can be compromised. So
Be mindful. Whatever you do, our dear fellows, be mindful. Understand each step. Try not to do anything when you're nervous, when you're tired, when you are in a rush. It's difficult, of course, but I would say that's the psychological trick that everybody should follow. It's important. It's important thing. It's related to your asset that the person built, right? So mindfulness, reasonably relaxed, and attention whatever had been done. That I guess important.
yeah, and I would say like you need to talk to a professional.
Yeah.
You need to talk to not necessarily a professional, but to an expert, to someone who can at least just guide you, because there are some things that you might not even know. Like as I told you, like with this extra passphrase. So I knew this. Like I need to remember this 12 word seeds, and this is the most important thing that's there. But like I didn't know what the passphrase was, and like what I should do, and I thought it's just like you can generate it. It's just like a pin code. So like Samurai has the mnemonic seed, then the passphrase, and a pin code. So you can forget the pin code and you can recover your coins with the seed and passphrase. But I didn't know the passphrase was equally important. So something or like another problem there was. So when you take these mnemonic seeds and you type them in, and they are converted through a certain hash function into the private key. So if you type in one character wrong, there's going to be a completely different private key. And
yes.
This is what happened. I recovered the wallets with apparently the wrong private key. I had the original seed. I had the original seed written down. Then I recovered the wallet, and then I transferred my coins to that wallet. And when I tried to recover it once again, that was a different wallet completely. So that wasn't Bitcoin though. Like I think Bitcoin has. I don't actually know. Does Bitcoin have this checksum verify? So I think you can create anything you want.
But
like
again,
whatever the input you put in, and that's.
We are not talking only about Bitcoin from that perspective, because
any cryptocurrency. But like that's the main idea. You just get a random input and then you get standardized output.
Yeah. Probably. I guess there are some topics that we can and we should touch in the future. Again, as you said, I agreed and I'm vote for that. Advice from trustful expert is a must. I guess that's my point, and I guess that's the right point.
At least to have a general idea, like what is it? Actually, like I talk with a few people, my friends. They kind of know that I study these things, and they asked like such simple questions like what is an address? Like can I use the address? And
it's simple.
How do I send a Bitcoin? Like from where to where? First of all, you think, yeah, I know there is a threat, and I'm aware, so I'm already good.
Yeah.
I know I have a solution for the threat. It's just right there.
And again,
and I feel good already. I'm above. I know the threat. I have a solution, but I'm not using it.
Because why?
Because I can use it anytime I want.
Yeah. So many things about us, about humans.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about in your phone. So that's, yeah, I need to set up a pin code here because I know that can be stolen. I know if there is no pin code, people get inside. But I know I can set it up anytime I want.
And when you need it.
Yeah, and then you lose your phone and then you can't set it up.
Yeah.
Well, the bottom line, the Bitcoin is difficult.
Yeah,
Like
not
the security of this thing is not easy,
nope.
and I don't even think
It's gonna be easy.
it can be simplified. So whatever they're talking, it's a UI problem or UX. You kind of can abstract away, but the more abstraction layers you have,
But
the more trust you put in people who build them.
Who build them,
and
yeah.
you don't really know what's in
Yeah.
there. So I think it's very technical, and I don't think it's possible to simplify the thing
No,
to
good,
the
good.
point that everyone can use it without the trust. So
Well, that's
it's might be possible, just like a bank. The bank handles all the private keys, and you trust them to keep Bitcoin for you, and then you continue doing whatever we are doing right now with your
And yet,
cards and
even there, everybody, almost everybody, drive the car. Yeah, we are drivers with driving license. Still, we need mechanics. We need special. Oh, come on! When we even want to buy the car that we want, we go through so many advices, and a lot of time, person hire somebody who give the perfect advice against the car that person want. So even there, which looks so obvious, we are not yet so comfortable to do everything in one touch. Bitcoin it's not the 100 years of using cars for personal use. Bitcoin is not there at all.
yeah, it's picking up.
Yep.
Everything is green.
Ha. Volatility, another thing that maybe we might talk about.
Yeah, and by the way, like Bitcoin dominance is dropping.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it
How much
was
is
almost
80
so
at a certain time.
at the last peak of the bull run, the Bitcoin dominance was around 30%,
Oh,
and then it's very low, and
Well,
then
30
it
is
went
nothing.
up to 70. So and now
70
it's
something even.
now it's dropping again. It's like 56.
No, let's call it 60. Those DeFi projects, of course, took their
Yeah,
part.
that's just look at this, like all this like
Yeah, Chainlink, Polkadot.
Polkadot showed up here a few days ago, so I guess it wasn't trading.
Yeah.
I know the project. I didn't know about the token, like Polkadot. Okay, Binance, crypto.com. So it's kind of
It's a fresh names.
yeah.
Well, I see like old good names like Monero, Litecoin, things like that. But yeah, so many news. I guess something is happening. Let's hope for the best.
DeFi.
DeFi, yeah. Of course, it was a big push for the whole technology.
Yeah, like
Let's see.
every year you look at this and
It's difficult. Different,
It's different.
but
Bitcoin stays there.
yes. And I can't recall even a day when it wasn't number one. Even
there was no such thing.
yeah, even when Ethereum was like pushing hard, and again it was the brilliant days of Ethereum. Well, now it's also good days, but I mean, we all recall, if not all, it was the time when the whole world got attention of Ethereum, and yeah, it was like shining. But again, number one was Bitcoin. Let's face it.
What is this Yorn Finance? Yorn.finance, 29,000 US dollars, 33% up today. So
It's yeah, like
well, I mean that's from DeFi. I'm sure.
yeah. Some names are
I'm still waiting for the projects that's gonna be using all this crypto, like IOTA.
it's so promising, but not yet.
It's for the Internet of Things, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. It was assumed.
Is there a single project for that? Like,
There are so many theoretical projects, like people are trying to do something but actually never done. Controlling the last thing that I heard, and with a good good investment of human resources, it was a project to control power stations. A small hydro.
Why do you need IOTA? Like, why do you need the blockchain?
At the point, why do you need? Yes, you might not need it, but at least it was the project where I can say people are trying to do something. It wasn't completely lunatic some project with nobody invest even 1 hour of developer time. No, it was the project where people were trying to achieve something. Question aside, why even you use blockchain for that? That question aside.
That's the main question.
But at least it's like, yeah, why you are using Lamborghini for to get potatoes, right?
I mean, the
can,
the blockchain is good for like payments, and IOTA is it's a DAG, so it's I don't know if the network is fragmented, so you're not always online. Can you actually do the transactions? Maybe that makes sense if this is the case. And you need to pay the small payments.
Yeah, I mean, indeed, for so many projects, using the so heavy and pretty expensive technology as blockchain is useless.
Okay, guys.
And talk to you later, guys, everybody. See you
Next week.
next week.
Bye.